Hello everybody, welcome to Reactivated. I am chuckling away. Do you fancy 15 minutes of just having a laugh, maybe? Let's do it, shall we? Because welcome to another top 10. Today we'll be looking at the top 10 funniest moments to come out of Robot Wars. Here we go. The comedy element doesn't necessarily come from the fight itself, it's in a post-match interview. And this comes on the Extreme Series 1 series, Bigger Brother versus Come and Getterix. Now, there was the backstory here, wasn't there? From the Tag Team Terror, does Team Bigger Brother have the right to fly the Union Jack flag? And the Come and Getterix team said no. Bigger Brother took offence in a joking way, of course, and one vengeance match later on in Extreme, they had a fight. But it was a, I suppose, off-the-cuff comment that Joe Watts made in the interview with Craig Charles. And I'm surprised they kept this in, you know. I thought they would have edited this out, but I think because of the fact that it was an Extreme tournament, the series, it was a little bit light-hearted and a bit all over the place, wasn't it, Extreme? Which was great. The whole build-up, of course, it really offended you, didn't it, Joe? No.
The right to fly the flag. That really upset you, didn't it, Joe?
No.
The audience erupted, the teams erupted, and Craig Charles's face was a picture. So there we go, Bigger Brother, Come and Getterix at number 10. Rewind a couple of series earlier, and for our 9th spot, unintentionally, it is Hypnodisk versus Robogeddon. At the start of the episode, of course, Hypnodisk was an unknown. You had no idea what was about to happen. But when you were looking around the pits and you saw that the Hypnodisk's disc, oh, this could potentially do some damage. And then you saw Robogeddon. I still think, I mentioned this before on Reactivated, I still think this was staged because they wanted a good first impression to see how good Hypnodisk really could perform. And Robogeddon was a bit of a jokey robot. I mean, the robot itself was a bit of a joke, wasn't it? Because it was just billed as another ordinary fight. It was the reaction, really, not only the contestants in the booths, the poor Robogeddon.
Dear, look, there's nothing left of it now.
They were laughing their heads off at the end of the fight, but it was Jonathan Pierce, because of course none of us, and I remember myself laughing my head off. So there we go, Hypnodisk, Robogeddon, at number 9. We have to touch, of course, on one of the showman teams of Robot Wars. It is Sir Chromalot. Now you're probably thinking, which part of Sir Chromalot's whole career in Robot Wars is the funniest? They were a joy to watch anyway. For me, Sir Chromalot were the most funny in Series 6. Because they came, of course, in the stylish little, BMW convertible, of course, in the sunglasses. And then their interviews with Philippa in the pits. Were quite funny. Philippa was trying to rein them in. Do you want to focus on the fight? No, the jacket's more important, Philippa. She's just brilliant. And to be honest, for me, Sir Chromalot performed best in Series 6. They did have a good campaign. Okay, it was still a bit of a dodgy campaign, but I personally did think it was the most entertaining run that they had. And it was the fight against S3. And you're thinking, well, there's no match here, of course. And there wasn't. But the way that they got from the arena against S3 to the end of the fight was just genius. I mean, they spent half of the fight dodging the pits. They were trying to lure poor S3 and drive in. And they very nearly did. But then S3, of course, got the lucky hit and then flipped. But for me, this was the peak. And I think probably the best fight that Sir Chromalot were in entertainment value, and I laughed my head off. There we go, S3 and Chromalot at number 8.
When are you going to build a better robot?
When you get a better jacket, actually. Have you sold the car and bought a motorbike?
What are you on about? Look at this. It's wicked.
We couldn't do this countdown, this funny 15 minutes of fun, without mentioning Plunderbird, Plunderstorm even, because this is where our next moment takes place in at number 7. It's Plunderstorm's performance in Series 3. For me, the funniest part, the funniest interview I think they did was with Philippa in the pits after their defeat in Series 3, and they were still trying to give off this image that they are still the best showman and still the best robot, even though they do know that they're not really. The robot's terrible, but the team were brilliant. And Philippa's reaction sums it up. For me, that was the funniest pit moment of the series. So there we go, Plunderstorm in at number 7.
Be rough, there's a Plunderstorm coming!
Next year.
And now going!
A lot have said how stale the New Blood heats were. I mean, it was 5 episodes within the series of just the New Blood tournament. And for me, that was a bit too much. But there's okay, a couple of highlights. The opening fight between Chopper, Mad Dog, and ICU. Now, of course, these were all novices of the series, but you had Mad Dog doing pretty much nothing throughout the whole fight and then breaking down. You had ICU trying so hard to make an impression but failing miserably. Chopper seemed to just drive into every single hazard in the arena. It was all a bit messy but so funny. And then, of course, at the end, the drop zone was activated, but it didn't actually hit the robot under. It hit Kilolot's breastplate, and for me that just summed up the whole fight. It was such an amateur fight, but that was part of the New Blood, and really for me, I'd have loved to have seen more fights like this in the New Blood.
These teams. Chopper.
We whiz forward, I think it was a couple of episodes in the series, to the mini meltdown episode, of course, where all of the underweight robots performed. It was a very good, one of the best episodes of Extreme 2. For me, the highlight of the episode came when a robot called Ellie's Little Pink Bot decided to enter the arena and fight Typhoon. It's an absolute guilty pleasure watching this fight, because first of all you didn't really know what to expect. These were underweight robots fighting, but you knew that because Typhoon had performed before that they would probably win. But Ellie's Little Pink Bot, I mean, not only was it a funny named robot, it was the team were funny. They looked funny. It was a funny looking robot, and it was a funny fight. It was the absolute perfect combination. Didn't get off the ground again, a little bit like Plunderstorm. But the highlight for me of the fight, of course, was when Growler took over, biting the whole robot. Then it bit the pit release button. Then Ellie's Little Pit Bot was nearly flipped out the arena. The pit tire then flew out of the arena. It was all so messy. And of course, the interview with Craig Charles after with the team. I loved it.
Growler has gone. Feel that from where I am. It's gone mad.
Whiz back now to another memorable staged fight, though, that took place in Series 2. Can you guess what I'm referring to here? So in at number 4, it's Rombit versus Nemesis, of course the Dietor team, in the Vengeance episode that took place at the very end of Series 2. For me, Nemesis and the Dietor team completes the trilogy of showmen in Robot Wars. You had Chromalot, you had Plunderbird, and you had Dietor. The team were hilarious, Dietor team. When Dr. Zulu, of course is what he was called for the Robot Wars magazine, when he was on screen, whenever he was on screen, I was just, oh my goodness me, it was hilarious. And of course, the robot was made for this episode. They must have poured fuel on or something, because the only winners really here were the audience and us, and the house robots, because Sergeant Bash, up it went in flames. So for me, that fight was purely to inject a bit of humour and just 3 minutes of fun.
Look at Nemesis! Oh, it's a Catherine wheel ram rhombit. Oh, fireworks. That's brilliant. That was absolutely brilliant.
We've got to mention Granny's Revenge. For all the stolen wheelchair motors throughout the history of Robot Wars, pretty much all robots had a wheelchair motor, and a team finally in Series 5 thought, we're going to get revenge for all of the wheelchairs, all of the grannies who have suffered. All of the first round fights just went straight to the robot board that you saw on screen and into the fight. There was no interview with Philippa, but for this heat, it was the first time in the series, Heat 8, that we saw Philippa interview. And of course you had to have the interview. Here it is, of Philippa interviewing Granny's Revenge. What more could you ask for? You had Sergeant Bash who torched her to death, then dumped in the pit, and then Refbot sitting on her face. How could you top that, really? I mean, one of the best fights of Series 5. Hilarious. And of course, Granny coming back in Series 6, and unfortunately was pitted up against Hypnodisk in the first round of Series 6. And okay, you had a Refbot squash you in Series 5. How could you top that? Just have a cooker land on your head. And that's what happened in Series 6. Again, another very comedic, hilarious campaign for Granny in Series 6. We can't escape the mention and the hilarity of Sergeant Bash's confrontation with Refbot. All of a sudden in the background you just saw, what's Refbot? Sergeant Bash, what's he doing there? And because it never happened before in the past, and it never happened since, it was the only fight that the House Robots actually fought each other during a fight, and it just made the fight for me. And again, it's one of the most memorable, hilarious fights, because inevitably you had fire versus water, didn't you? Sergeant Bash's flamethrower against Refbot's extinguisher. And you just knew that water cancels out fire, Refbot is going to win this no matter what, and how moody Sergeant Bash is. And it did, it happened, didn't it? And you just couldn't take, I mean, even you couldn't take the eyes off the fight, off the background fight, should we say, because Jonathan Pierce was in static as well, and Craig Charles mentioning it as well. So there we go, Sergeant Bash and Refbot. What a sub-fight that was in Extreme Series 2. I'll just say, husbands against wives. So in pretty much where Widow's Revenge came from, it was the wives' revenge, wasn't it? It was speaking for every single girlfriend, wife, sister, whoever it would have been, watching their other halves combat. But it was hilarious because you just knew that the producers were going to have them fight. I actually thought they were going to fight in the first round, but luckily something against Widow's Revenge. It went to a judge's decision, but Widow's Revenge managed to get through. And you had Matilda in for the girls, you had Sergeant Bash in for the boys, and it was an accumulation, this fight, of years of Roboteers' wives saying, this isn't going to happen. No more hot dinners on the table for you, mates. The fight was just hilarious. Razor didn't really know what to do with Widow's Revenge. And then it broke down, and then the House Robots came and destroyed poor Widow's Revenge. And then Razor finished it off. They drove into the pit with Widows. That's quite a nice ending, really, isn't it? The husbands and wives ending together, maybe. And then, of course, the hilarity with Craig Charles in the interview.
No more hot dinners on the table for you, mates.
And for me, that tops the greatest and funniest moment, heat even, of the whole series. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you very, very soon, I promise, on more Reactivated. And before we go, if you have, I'm just trying to think of any other funny moments that I've missed completely. This is all from my memory, remember. I might have missed a whole load of other best moments. Please leave a comment below. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.